Well, it's 3 o'clock. This is the time that we said that these meetings will begin. Um, I started the meeting a little early today just for um, variety. And so I guess if anybody shows up, they show up. But as has been our custom, no one else is here. So um, I'm going to use this discussion session to talk about the topic of my choosing for the week. And last week when we did this, I did something that was related entirely to the lab, um, with very little overlap in the lecture. Um, so maybe this time I'll focus on the lecture. Can also do here is maybe briefly discuss something from the lab, again for the basically just the purpose of um, being able to say that we've had discussions for both lecture and lab um, in the requisite numbers. So in the lab this week, most of you may be just wrapping up the lab for the week. And if that's the case, then that's fine. I believe that means that you are doing the spring scale lab, but some people are doing the new lab, the one that I gave for the start of this week. And so let's go ahead and pull open the instructions for that. And I guess let's share the screen again, and we'll have a brief discussion of lab related stuff. So obviously you've got your video walkthrough, you've got your second walkthrough with a few examples, got your study guide, and then most importantly, you have the actual lab and the instructions that go with it. So what is it that you're doing this week in lab? Well, you are basically just trying to use pressure for your car, your tires, basically on your car or whatever vehicle you're using, to measure the weight of your car. All right. And it's fairly straightforward. Um, you have your tire gauge. This is to measure pressure. You have your vehicle. So car, truck, minivan, SUV, motorcycle, whatever. It just has to have inflatable tires. You could probably even do this with a bicycle, if that's all you have available. You can't do it with a toy car or a remote control car because those are not truly inflatable tires, and therefore you can't really get the tire pressure. And then you need your piece of graph paper. That piece of graph paper is not to make a graph. Instead, it's just to make it easier to trace the parts of your tire that are making contact with the ground. It's not going to be the entire tire. It's not even going to be the entire bottom part of the tire, depending on how your treads are set up. Okay, and what you're using is this equation that says pressure is force times area. So essentially what you do is you take the little tire gauge and you go around to each tire and you put it into the tire and it will measure a pressure. Standard tire pressure gauge in the United States is going to give you pressures in PSI. That is the same thing as, or that stands for, pounds per square inch. So these that say pounds over inch squared, this is the same thing as PSI. And what you want to do is you're going to measure pressure directly. You're going to measure the area of each of the four tires, or at least the area of the tire that's actually touching the ground. And then you're going to solve for force. Force is, in this case, weight. Okay. So pressure lab. You have that pressure is defined as force per area. So you're going to go out and you're going to measure this, and you're going to measure this. And you're going to use these two measurements to calculate this. So step one maybe is to solve the equation so that instead of saying pressure is force over area, you can say force is pressure times area. All right, so you go off, you measure your tire pressure, and you measure the tire area. If you have a tire whose pressure, so example, tire pressure for one of your tires is 32 psi. And let's say that the tire area is, let's say, like 35 square inches. That's equivalent to being about 7 inches this way by 5 inches this way. That's actually in contact with the ground. Note that the tire itself may be bigger than that. Even the part that seems like it's touching the ground may be bigger than that. Depends on the treads on your tire. Okay. Then the total force from that tire acting upward. So this acts up on car or whatever your automobile is force equals 32 pounds per square inch. So we could say PSI, but remember we can also say pound per inch squared times 35 inches squared. So my inches squared can cancel. 32 times 35. So we'll pull out the calculator just to make this a little faster. This would be 1,120. So this tire is holding up 1,120 pounds. So maybe you do this for each of the other 3 tires. Maybe you get like 1,100 pounds, maybe another one 1,160 pounds, the last one another 1,120 pounds, whatever. Your total weight of your car or vehicle is given by the sum of those forces. So let's use a little w for weight. This would be force tire 1 plus force tire 2 plus force tire 3 plus force tire 4. So if you've done all this, your vehicle weight would be 1,120. I guess I said 1,160, maybe 1,100, and then we'll just take the unit out, and then 1,120 again. So this is pounds. And so your vehicle's total weight in this case is 4,500 pounds. Now note that this may be the actual weight of your vehicle and everything that's in it. It's not necessarily going to match the manufacturer's weight because the manufacturer's weight assumes sort of an empty vehicle, or at most it assumes an empty vehicle that happens to have oil and gasoline in it, something like that. So if you have those things, but you also have passengers or gear, or you've got a bunch of stuff in the back because it's a pickup truck, something like that, then your weight's going to be a bit different than what these measurements give you. So maybe you have like a large truck and you've loaded some hay in the back of it or something. And so you get your 4,500 pounds. In any case, that is everything that I wanted to talk about in today's discussion. So that is it for the lab part of the discussion. I think that I will stop recording at this point and let it save, and then edit the recording and load it into Canvas so that those of you who are watching asynchronously can skip over the part where I'm like writing out stuff slowly and without having anything else to say. So as always, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the future. See you next week. And I guess goodbye for now.